The Rings of Power had its big moments. House of the Dragon was a return to classic Game of Thrones. But could Willow actually be the fantasy show you've been waiting for?
Wait, are you serious?
After 2 episodes, I'm kind of stunned to say that yes, it actually might be. Don't get me wrong, House of the Dragon was amazing, and The Rings of Power started shaky but finished very strong. But Willow is unlike any fantasy show we've seen this year for a couple of reasons, and I'll try and explain why in our full breakdown of episode 1 and 2. So brace yourself for spoilers and let's dive in. Episode 1 of Willow exists to show off the world, which happens to look amazing by the way, and give fans who aren't familiar with the original movie some backstory. But its main job is introducing us to the cast who will become the adventuring party at the heart of the show. We meet Kit, the princess who doesn't quite realize how spoiled she actually is, and her friend in Knight in Training, Jade, played by Erin Kellyman, who has now gone from Star Wars to MCU to Willow, competing the Disney Plus trifecta, who loves the princess but loves her duty serving the kingdom even more. Then we have the prince and twin brother of Kit, Eric, who promptly gets kidnapped by a group of bad guys that look like they wandered in from the set of Hellraiser, and a kitchen maid Eric has promised to marry named Dove, along with Graydon, the quiet, book-smart scholar who happens to be prince of the neighboring kingdom and is supposed to marry Kit to unify the land, something neither seems really thrilled about. But this is a fantasy show, so of course the night before the wedding, the bad guys, henchmen of the Withered Crone called the Gales, show up and promptly beat the absolute shit out of our heroes, leaving a big body count with the kingdom's guards before snatching Prince Eric and injuring the queen. The fight goes so badly the queen decides to let out Borman, a mysterious man who has been locked in the dungeon for most of the show, and also clearly the best character in the series so far, who actually hacks the arm off one of the Gales before they all flee. The next day, the queen decides to send the young heroes, along with Borman and the knight responsible for training Prince Eric, to find the sorcerer Willow, who had foreseen this event years ago, to try and track down the prince, offering to pardon Borman for all of his crimes, which apparently include nudity and a haberdashery. Which brings us to one of the huge differences between Willow and the other fantasy shows. In Willow, there are a lot of jokes between the carnage, and the jokes kind of all land. It's very much the MCU version of a fantasy show in that way.
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
In fact, after leaving the safety of the kingdom to go through a magical barrier to the outer lands where Willow lives, the show actually kills off the knight sent along to help them find Eric to make a joke, and it works. They literally put an arrow through a man to drive home a joke, and it works, and honestly, that's just impressive. Willow on Disney Plus is clearly not afraid of a body count. Along the way, they run into Dove, who has followed them to find Eric, and finally make it to the home of Willow, who informs them that not only is their prince in another castle, but Dove is actually Alora Dannon, the child he rescued in the movie, whose destiny it is to destroy the evil forces of the Withered Crone and save the world. Episode 2 picks up with basically everyone in the party but Alora herself and Prince Graydon calling bullshit on Willow's revelation. And it turns out that the queen hiding Alora as a kitchen maid and refusing to let Willow train her as a child may not have been a great idea, because for a being supposed to be the most powerful sorceress alive, she can't seem to do any magic. Willow is forced to join the adventuring party when they all refuse to stay in his village while he tries to teach Alora. So, with the Avengers now fully assembled, they head off to the boundaries of the known world to try and find the way to the Withered Crone Citadel, all while Borman tries to make alliances and learn the secrets of everyone in the party like a Survivor contestant turned to 11. And Princess Kit clearly gets jealous of all the attention Alora is getting. But several days in, Alora still can't do magic. Willow is starting to doubt if she will ever be able to after giving her a simple spell to grow a seed into a sprout that she proceeds to fail at for days on end. And Borman casually reveals that he knows that not only is Princess Kit's father, Mad Mardigan from the original movie, still alive after everyone thought he had abandoned his family and died, but he actually used to be his squire. The episode ends with Alora, who got a pep talk from Prince Graydon, the shy, book-smart prince who thought bringing a flute on the adventure was a good idea, still apparently failing her spell before being knocked out and dragged away by the captain of her kingdom's guard, who had been infected after he was injured during the Gale's attack and is now bound by some kind of dark sorcery to do their bidding. But as he drags her away, the camera lingers on the ground where Alora had been casting her spells, and suddenly a full-grown bush springs from the earth as the episode ends. So that's got you up to speed with Willow so far, and while the show isn't perfect, that weird info dump by Willow the second the party meets him was very awkward.
Your brother's alive, a prisoner of the Withered Crone. who dwells in immemorial city that lies beyond the shattered sea.
But the show itself is a fantastic mix of humor and dark moments, like a more violent Princess Bride. And that's not something you really see anymore. You either get the super serious House of the Dragon model, where dragons eat children when the children aren't busy maiming each other, or the super whimsical Rings of Power version that tries to convince you that you really want to see Galadriel kiss Sauron. Instead, Willow is just genuinely fun and joyful, while still having enough stakes and action to keep you invested. Each character has an interesting backstory that is still to be revealed, they have real personality clashes and disagreements, and you don't need to know anything about the original movie to really enjoy the series, although there are some fun Easter eggs thrown in for fans of the original film along the way. I've talked about MCU, but Critical Role fans will probably also really enjoy the series for those exact same reasons. It's just a big, complex adventuring party with a lot of dynamics at play, except the magic user of the group doesn't mope around in existential dread all the time after killing his parents. We're only 2 episodes in, and things could always change, but so far Willow is just a fun, joyful show that really illustrates a kind of fantasy we haven't seen since the days of Princess Bride, and how it can be updated for modern audiences and still work. And I'm definitely sticking around for the rest of the ride. And if you've stuck around this far, please consider sticking around for just a few more seconds to hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe even turn on notifications. It really helps the channel, and we'd really appreciate it. See you next time.